I'm getting this all set up. How did we're recording? How did the Google Doodle go? How'd it go? You know, the silence is even more awkward online. In person, it was I can just look at you in person, but online, it's super awkward. Right. That little sound bite right there, I'm gonna make that on my. I'm gonna put that into my bio. All right, all right. Fake student, how did it go? I thought it was a really fun project. I can't wait to revise it this summer. I'm really excited about what you can do with SVGs and animation. Thank you, fake student. Okay, let's get into this. All right. Here's a quick recap of what we've done this summer. Okay, so we're taking these JavaScript foundations, and this is where the next week is going to be. Next week is going to be our return to P5 and drawing on the canvas, and things that we can do with that. And we've done this from our introduction to JavaScript here on Codecademy. And so we said, like, what can we do with this? So there's that, okay? And then this one was animation, okay? Before it was traditionally done in Flash, right? Like long ago. And now we're saying, you know, hey, we can animate not just SVGs, but actual web elements themselves. And we were introduced to this in Web 1. So, and from this, we say, what can we do with this? We turn this into a Google Doodle project. Okay. And then we use all these references here. This one is your lecture on this stuff. This is the lectures from class. And of course, there is the LinkedIn learning video that we also use as a reference. So again, a lot of this of what we're doing here is, what is this thing? All right, now what can we do with it? Right, and that's where I come in. All right, our last module is UI patterns. Okay, we looked at a lot of different UI patterns. Okay, and part of the project is this framework. I can't stress this to you enough. I look at your work and I look at the commit repos, and I see it's like, why are they starting with blank files? Like, you're not starting with blank files. Wherever you go work, there's going to be some boilerplate, and there's going to be our framework already in place. Like, you're going to be using CMSs. We'll talk about that in Web3. I mean, there's just a lot of prerequisites to a modern website now, and we need to get used to this idea that we don't start with blank files. And so we have to get used to working with code that we can't see. So what that gets into is, you know, this CodePen. So Colin, now that we have all this, what can we do with it? Well, that's why this used to be called patterns, right? And this used to be a codepen.io/patterns. Let's see if that link still works. Look, see, I was right, because patterns redirects to topics now. But look, this just got added. Pug just got added, right? That's what this is. There's all these frameworks. Okay, this is the one we're going to be using in Web3 called React, right? All this stuff just got added in. I don't know. I might start teaching this in Web 1 in the fall. Who knows? Yeah. Libraries, right? GSAP, you know this one. Okay. And UI patterns is what we can do with it. What can we do with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? And today we're going to be looking at how to make sliders and lightbox galleries. Right? And what can we do with those things? Add any of this to your websites. Right? And so that's our application of this. So right now we're going to be looking at the concepts, right? This is the boring part of class. I talk about the concepts and why these things exist. Then we're going to practice this in CodePen, and then you're going to go apply this to your websites. All right, with me on this part? Good? Check. All right, I'm just getting us ready for Web3 in the fall there. Let's see here, on topics. What happened to my topics? Oh, so we're looking at sliders. What are sliders? All right, Colin, your examples aren't as awesome as this. 100% true. The examples that we're going to be doing today aren't nearly as good as this. Oh, look at this one, right? This one's got like some alpha. Let's see, some alpha transparency on these images here. Is that true? Whoa, look at that parallax scrolling on alpha images. How did they do that? Don't know. That's really cool though, like this double exposure technique. I think that's great. Okay. But I know I know that I can, right? And this is what I want us to be able to do is, right, like get rid of all this and just go, all right, I'm going to spend some time here. How does this thing work? Yeah, and I want you to be able to do that same thing. So that's awesome. Now I want to know how it works. All right, same thing here. Yeah, this has this little, this follows the cursor here. So the point I'm trying to make here is there's more similar between these very, very unique examples than there are different. The differences are small, the similarities are big. Oh, look, I was just talking about Pug. Look at that. There it is. Pug is becoming the new hotness, y'all. See? That's what Pug does. It just becomes HTML. That's a neat one. All right, view card. Let's see, what does this one do? Clicking, I'm clicking. Oh, there we go. All right, so these are sliders. All right, so if you've taken any classmate, you can also do a vertical slider. Wow, that one's really neat too. All right, so the best way to learn something is to take these examples and start distilling them down. Take away all of the fanciness. Just get down to the core of how it works. Make a bare bones distilled example, right? And if you can understand that, you're good to go from there. Okay. Oh, here's a really good example, just how it works. All right, so there's a slider. We all know what a slider is. I want to know how this parallaxing is working there. That's unique. That's different. Is that 2 images or 1 image? All right. Okay, let's do this because now I only have, all right, we got 20 minutes. We're going to do this. Okay. Use sliders sparingly. Okay, use it for short bits of content that can be easily scanned. Again, this is still a design class. All right, Colin, in UX1, UX2, and UX3, I go off on rants about sliders. Okay, I want you to be careful on how you use them. Okay, you know, Eastern doesn't have their slider anymore. Oh, here we go, right here. How many people actually go left, right? Very few people actually go the other direction. And so very often there's stuff on the last slide that no one ever sees, right? Also, how many times have you actually gone through a slider and you go, "Ooh, I'm glad I did that. That was a good use of my time." Okay, so anytime you implement any one of these UI patterns, what you need to ask yourself is like, is it achieving what I want it to? Okay. All right, so that's the design part of all this. Let's go ahead and open up the Professor Pen and let's start making this thing. All right, what this also gets us introduced to is libraries, okay? Different libraries, and that's what you can do with JavaScript. So everybody's making sliders, right? As you saw on CodePen, and making it from scratch completely is completely doable. It's possible. But a lot of times, anytime you have something that is repeated over and over again, there's a library for it. So I can just Google for, you know, JavaScript sliders, and you're going to see there's a lot of stuff that's returned. Or carousel is how they're sometimes referred to, sliders, carousels, right? You're gonna get so many results. Like it's just an endless amount, 50 plus, 23 of the best, 50 plus of the best. Why the heck are there 50 of these or 23 of these, right? Because everyone has their own implementation of this. That's why there's so many. So the one we're going to be using, right, is Flicky, right? So Colin, why did you pick this one out of all of them? Because one, I like the work that Metaphysi is doing, and two, this one is responsive in terms of touch. Okay, and it's just really easy to implement, and it's performant. That's it. Okay, so that was my job. My job was to go through all 50, 23, 100, like literally there are hundreds of these, and so, you know, which one is gonna be best for us. All right, just doing my job. All right, so the first thing we need to do is take a look at this basic setup right here. All right, we got this basic slider right here, and we need to add in all of the required elements. So let's go ahead and take care of the HTML first. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop in some HTML here, and let's begin to break this down. So what most people normally would do is they would come into like Metaphysi's site here, okay, and they would just find I'm making all these weird sounds. They would just find an example and just copy and paste it all and go. It doesn't work, and that's not what I want you to do. Where are their examples? They moved it. All right. That's not what I want you to do. What I want you to do is begin to understand how they work. Right? They're going to come here in CodePen and go, I went and I did this. I went to export and I downloaded this all and I downloaded everything. And it doesn't work on my website. Well, that's because that's not how this is supposed to be. Right? What you want to do is first understand how it works, and then be able to apply it to your website. All right, so we got this content here. Let's go ahead and break this down. Okay. All right, so first off, we have a carousel container, right? And it's .carousel, and this isn't from me. It's from the Metaphysi, right? It's from the Flickity. Okay, it's from this library here called Flickity. Okay, and so Flickity is saying like for me to work, right? I need this class of carousel as the parent wrapper. So that's the first place to start. Okay, so make sure that you have a parent. And then for each of the individual pieces of content here, right, we have a class called cell. And that is no CSS, no JavaScript. Understand what is necessary in terms of HTML. Okay, and so if you wanted to have a fourth item, right, are we going to make another carousel or are we going to make another cell, right? An anonymous student says cell. Okay, so this is 4 things to slide through. This is 5 things to slide through. Okay, all right, with me on this? Check, check. Right. So you got 2 options, right? Not listen right now, or I know it's early, or you can go ahead and read the API yourself, right? All I did, this was my job, come through here, like, how does it all work? Okay, and my job is to translate all this stuff to you. And this is no different than the Greensock API, right? This is their reference, this is their dictionary, this is their documentation. Okay, so we got all of this. I'm all over the place. Like, there we go. All right, and I put those notes inside of there. All right, a student asked for my notes, so like, here you go, put them right in the code. All right, the next one is we're going to need to hide. Okay, hide all this stuff. So let's go ahead and close up the HTML. Let's go ahead and take a look at the CSS. Okay, this is what took me the longest, if I remember this correctly. Yeah, this is what took me the longest to figure out. Right, the CSS part took the longest to figure out. So first we need to add in this library right here. So let's go ahead and add in the library into our CSS. And it was a little bit frustrating and embarrassing about why that took so long to figure out this carousel slider. So, all right, so first off, we're going to style the parent carousel. And again, this is temporary styling, just so you can see the parent. Good, right there. Okay, so each of the backgrounds have this gray. And if we wanted to, we could even put an outline on this one, PX solid red, okay, just so we can see all the individual elements, okay? All right, so there's the parent, right? It's outlined red so we can see this thing. And you can even do the same thing to the cell. What I'm showing you right here is this process that I use, right, to make sure that I understand what the heck is actually happening. Okay, so those are all the individual cells. Use these outline, be able to see, right, how it's going to take all these elements and this is what it's going to slide through. Okay. So these are exactly the pens that I'm making, right? When I get to somewhere and I go, oh, that's really cool. Take away all the fanciness. Take away as much as the stuff, like get to what is absolutely necessary to make this thing work. And that's what we're dealing with right now. What is absolutely necessary and required to make this thing work? Then you can add on your own visual layer. All right, so we have this carousel.cell. I should probably use a better selector there. I got a little bit lazy there. Sorry, y'all. Web 1 is yelling at me right now. All right, so it has a background color. And then what I couldn't figure out here is to use the default content height or specify the height. And that was what I was struggling with. So the height right here is optional. Right, so we can come in here and say you can have the content stretch or you can define a height yourself, right? So if I put in 100 px, okay, all the content is going to be equal. So I'm going to comment that out for just a second, okay? And we're going to run this without the specifying the height, okay? And we can even give this another background color if we wanted to. How about yellow green? Will that show up on there? Yeah. Okay, good. Do this, right? This is what it's taking me, you know. I wish I knew this as a student. I would have a lot. This is good technique. All right, don't forget to make sure that is loaded in there. Okay, you have your CSS loaded in there. Okay, all right, let's get into the JavaScript part now. Okay, treat this like you're the browser. This is how the browser is going through this code, right? One layer at a time. Okay, and then the JavaScript part is pretty straightforward. All right, so first off, we need to make sure that our library is included, okay? Because by default, okay, Flickity is not a part of JavaScript. Flickity is another object that is added to JavaScript. Flickity is a plugin that is added to JavaScript. Flickity extends JavaScript. That's what's happening here. All right, so we go ahead and save on that, and and then we're gonna go ahead and just run this thing. All right, so we're gonna define a new variable, okay, called slide container, and that could be a const because our slide container is probably not gonna change, okay. And then we're gonna use our query selector from many lectures, and we're gonna select the parent. And that was the thing that kind of tripped me up at first. Is like, oh yeah, you have to select the parent, not the child, right? You're selecting the carousel parent, not the cell child. All right, so we have a container for that. And look, it's 2 lines of JavaScript to make this thing go, which I thought was really nice. It's all wrapped up. Okay, why is it so short, right? Is this. This is when this becomes a computer science class. Okay, let's make a touch responsive flickable carousel. And this is what we need to do to make that happen. It's beautiful. This is, to me, this is completely elegant, right? But also time consuming. We want to use the tools. We don't want to make a tool. Okay. And so, you know, this tool was made for us, okay, with all of these features. So thank you, David DeSandro and team. All right, then we're gonna create a new variable here, right? This one is called Flickity. Okay. And this might change, so that's why it's going to use var. This could also be let if you wanted to. And so what we have right here is this new instance of Flickity. And we saw this with math, and we saw this with the date object. And new is a keyword that belongs to JavaScript, right? This is in your homework. Like, don't name a variable class, don't name a variable new, don't name a variable JavaScript. And every time we say new, what we're doing here is we're making a new instance of that carousel. And the reason why we need this keyword right here is because we have this template, we have this framework, right, called Flickity that we just looked at, like all that beautiful lines of code. And what this and why we have this keyword new is we can make many of these Flickities. We can make many carousels. You can put many carousels onto a page, right? And they can all have their own set of customizations and controls. All right, so with me on the new keyword. Yeah. All right, columns about explanation. I mean, about understanding, okay? This is why I'm not good at YouTube. YouTube's all about explaining. Here's all the explanation, right? I'm all about understanding. Understanding over explanation. It's me versus YouTube. All right, let's hit save on that. All right, so what happens is JavaScript went in and said, I got you, fam. I'm gonna take this, right? And I'm going to run your carousel for you. But then this happens. JavaScript did exactly what you wanted me to. And now what we're trying to do is go ahead, and now this is become a styling issue now. Now this is just styling. This is the easy part, right? So we're going to give it the same height on all of our carousel images, okay? Right, so there's the same height, and we want to now give it the same width. Let me go refresh this, okay? So if we give it the same height, the same width, we're good to go. All right, so this is our basic carousel. And we can come in here and give it a width of whatever we wanted to. How about 100%? Okay, notice the difference between the percentage and the pixels. Okay, ba-doom, there's your carousel. All right, slow clap, you just made one. All ready to go. Okay, this one by default has this little space here so you can see the last cell, right? And if you go to the end here, you can see right, this is an indicator that there's more to go left. So if we wanted to add in another cell of content, right? And this is what JavaScript is doing for us. JavaScript is basically saying, I will do what machines do best, and I will count for you. And I will add, and I will do all the repetitive stuff. So I will count, JavaScript will count that, hey, there's going to be now 5 of these, therefore I need 5 dots. And JavaScript is basically reading through the DOM right now and outputting that. Right? And I think this is where we begin to see, what's JavaScript's role on the web. Right? Good. All right, that is Flickity. Let's go ahead now and customize it. That's your Flickity slider. Okay. Let's see here. All right, fancy one. Okay. I want to. This is. I wanted to show you a common error that happens. People will forget. Okay, we're human beings. We'll forget to add in this library. We'll forget to add in Flickity. We'll hit save on that, and everything breaks. Okay, and I'll get this a lot. Like, it doesn't work. I was like, well, did you add in the library? And there's a pause. There's that silence there. It's like, well, what are you talking about? And so what's happening here, if we actually go into our errors, and if I turn this error on, it's going to say you're referencing this thing called Flickity. And JavaScript says, I have no idea what you're talking about. This thing is undefined in my world. I know what math is. I know what date is. I know what window is, right? Good. So common error, make sure that you add that in. Okay. Another common error is to forget you forget to add the CSS in. Okay. And you all know how to do this from Web 1, how to add these files into your local files. All right, we're gonna do that same thing here. I'm gonna go ahead and remove it. Okay. All right, so we need that, then this happens. It's JavaScript is doing its role, right? JavaScript saying, hey, I'm giving you these arrows. Look, JavaScript is counting for you. There, see those numbers down there? Yeah, go JavaScript, right? And if I add and remove any of the cells, right? Watch JavaScript do its work. 1, 2, 3. Wow, computers are really good at counting. Let them do the counting. I cannot stress to you that enough. Let them do what they do best. Okay. All right. And so JavaScript is like, I did my job. CSS, where are you at? Oh, my bad. I'm supposed to. And all of this is the default styling for Flickity. So the people at Metaphysi want you to use their library. They want you to use their plugin. Okay. And so they're going to provide you base styling so you can add stuff on top of that. Okay. And and if we went on CodePen right now, a lot of what you see on CodePen follows the same convention. All right, so that's that. There's your slider for you. Check the official documentation. So much so that I got some pushbacks like, why are we using this one? So here you go. Here's another one for you. We've used this one in the past. So if you don't like that one, you can use Slick. If you don't like that one, you can use Glide. Okay, and again, there's more similar to each of these libraries. Okay, don't look for an answer. There's one answer. Look for the solution. There are many solutions, and then see what is similar between each of the solutions. Okay, I promised. There is. Oh, I got 3 minutes. There's my time. All right. Oh, I can squeeze this in 3 minutes. All right. Let's go ahead and do one with the images now. Okay. All right. So done with that one. All right. This is that same idea here. Okay, we're gonna squeeze this example in. Oh, I would love a clear all button. Okay. All right, questions while I'm doing this? Questions, Bueller? Did we all stay up late trying to get our Google Doodle turned in on time? Probably, okay. All right. All right, so again, same thing. We have our carousel parent and our cell children, and inside of those are an image. And what's nice is inside of each of the cells, you can put whatever you want. You can embed a YouTube video inside of there if you wanted to. You can put whatever you want inside of that cell. And these are just massive images, just huge images that are pulled from somewhere. And then we're going to take care of the next part, which is going to be our CSS. All right, 3 minutes. I can make it. Paste it inside of there. All right, so again, same thing. We're gonna select the parent, and the background styling is just temporary. Like, you should remove that as soon as you don't need it anymore. Again, adjust the height and the width is needed. Like 100% is you're gonna use a fluid unit on the width and a fixed height on a fixed unit on the height, like pixels. Okay. And any styling for the images, right? You're going to select the content inside of the cell, right? So go to the parent, the children is the cell, right? And the grandchildren, right, is the content inside of those cells. And that's why that's there, but we don't need any of that. Heck, for all we need is this. Okay. All right, so there's the CSS to make this thing go. We have the CSS from the library. And then we need the library itself. Go in this order, right? I value your time. And if you go out of the order in which the browser is doing this, you're fighting the browser. If you fight the browser, right? What do I always say? If you fight the browser, you will what? Anybody? Chance. If I always say, when you fight the browser, you'll what? Corey. If you fight the browser, you will what? Don't fight the browser. If you fight the browser, you will win or lose.
You lose.
You will lose. It's just not worth it. Don't fight the browser. Thank you. All right, same thing here. We're going to make a container for the parent. So boom, okay. We say, hey, JavaScript, come in here, grab the parent, okay, and just hold on to that. Okay? And then I want you to act on the parent. Okay? And so again, we're going to make a new instance of this. And what I need to remember is here we can have multiple sliders, not just on the same website, but on the same page. And the next thing I want you to do is show the customizations for this. So before we do the customizations, let's just take care of the defaults. Okay, right. And that's the default stuff right there. Okay, we're gonna flickety on what? Flickety on the parent. And the parent happens to be what? Right, so just follow my cursor. Right, run flickety, where? On this thing called slide container, done. What is slide container? In this case, slide container is this parent of carousel. That's what JavaScript is doing. Okay, that's the order of execution that is happening right here. Okay. So now that we got this, right, we have a syntax that we have been accustomed to all quarter long, right, of the object key variables. So we have a second argument here, right? So this is the thing, okay, comma is the second argument, is the options on that thing. Well, our thing that we're running on is slide container. And you're going to say, well, I don't want the defaults because nobody wants, people want to customize stuff. And to do that, we can have our key value pairs here. We're going to give it our inside of our object. And this is no different than what we did with, than what we did with GreenSock. And so we're just going to go ahead and take a look at some of our options. And if you can go to the API here, and you can take a look at some of the options. And you have options to run full screen. You have options to add and remove stuff and resize stuff and stop and play. And so I just went ahead and picked some options that you might use. All right, so the first one is, right, are the images loaded on true? So basically what this is doing right here is saying, well, do I want my page to jump, right? So sometimes you go to a page and all of a sudden the page jumps. And if you do it this way, right, your page won't jump, okay? So your page won't resize and fix itself. You won't get that flash of unloaded content. Right. And so that's what this option is doing for us. So we're going to go ahead and do images loaded, right? And then we're going to set that to a Boolean value of true and false, as you all know from all of your homework, right? If we came into here and, instead and did lowercase l, as we know from our homework, is this going to work? Anonymous student says no.
No.
Mm-hmm. All right, Corey, who came up with images loaded, that key? Colin, JavaScript, or Flickety?
JavaScript.
Corey,
wait, hold on. Wait.
Go ahead.
Sorry. We'll repeat it.
Me, JavaScript, or Flickety?
No, wait. Who came up with what? The capitalization convention?
No. You're right.
Oh, no. Flickety came up with images loaded.
Good. Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. Why? Fences, y'all. Fences, right? It's inside these fences. That's one way to look at it. The other thing here is, if this is the customization of this object, right? So thanks, Corey. All right, so images loaded is true. Okay. Other things that we could, I thought that were really useful for it, right? Do you want the content to wrap around so we don't have that empty space? We're also going to set that to a Boolean value of true. And we know from our homework, right? We don't want to come in here and go true, true, or, you know, do some like do some hacker typing here. Leet speak, is that what it's called? All right, page dots, right? True or false. And again, right? So we have these page dots. I dislike these page dots, right? That's just me. That's my personal preference. I really dislike them. No one, they're just a pain. They're a good visual indicator of how many there are. I guess that's probably be the downside of that. And I'm just turning this off. So I set those to false. And again, right? So there it is. You can see the first one kind of peek through. So it's going to wrap all the way around. Okay, because before we couldn't go left. Remember, this was disabled. Yes, just nod your head, yes, that was disabled. And if you want more options, right, and every library is competing with this. Oh, I'm over time by 4 minutes. Sorry, y'all. Here is the page of all the options. You can turn draggable on and off. Do you want someone to be able to drag it? So by default, I'm taking my mouse cursor and I can drag it, or my finger. And you might want to say, you know, I'm making this thing for the desktop and I don't want you to be able to drag. Right? Do I want you to be able to scroll freely, or the things that wrap around? Do you want to group cells? And I'm going to stop right here because, as you can see, there are a lot of options here. And designers, this is what we want, right? If you're going to go through the trouble, right, and also put in the extra page load to add in a library, you should have a lot of options for that library. I'm going to need to either squeeze this into the next lecture or make a screencast. This is what I'm hoping that you add to your projects, this light gallery here, which has a slider in. This is for our portfolio page, and this won't take too long to implement. But okay, that's that. Stop share. I didn't make it for this class.